And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on-air host, Sara DiVello, and I am so excited to welcome live from LA, Rachel Koller Croft, here to give us the inside scoop on her red hot, most anticipated book of the year, Stone Cold Fox. Rachel, welcome to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about this book.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks for having me today. I'm so excited. Well, let's see. Stone Cold Fox is about Bee, a very ambitious young woman who I would say is a semi-reformed daughter of a con artist who kind of wants to hang up her devious hat for good via marrying into the 1%. So when she meets Colin Case, a very eligible, very rich, kind of boring man, she decides, yes, that's the one. And she's a total bombshell, so she doesn't really think it's going to be difficult to get a ring from him, but she knows the challenge will probably be in getting the approval from his family and inner circle, including his childhood best friend, Gail Wallace Lester, who will stop at nothing to take Bee down.
Ooh, and just like that, ooh, so saucy. First line, Rachel Koller Croft hooks us good and reels us in. So we are going to talk all things Stone Cold Fox tonight. Rachel is here to spill the tea on the night before her pub day. So if you've been here before, welcome back, friends. And if you're new, welcome. We're so happy to have you. So here's how it works. Every Mystery Monday, because Mondays can be murder, we're going to make them a little less painful for you. So I give you my hand-picked featured authors, and you get to ask them anything. So ask Rachel about Bee, about this scandalous plot, about her characters, about her writing process. Rachel lives in LA, also writes screenplays. How's that been? What does she prefer? All the things. We're going to get them going. Just get them going in the comments, and I will get them right over to her. Meanwhile, while your little fingers are flying with those questions, I'm going to kick off with some of the amazing praise that this book has earned, because the praise is good. Okay, so first of all, let's kick off with Good Morning America, that says this delicious, I'm going to pop this up so we can all read it together. This delicious, right here, twisty tale of deception and daughterhood will have everyone holding on to their wallets. That is from Good Morning America. Oh, so tasty. And they are not the only ones. Cosmo deeming the book dark and exciting, which of course is just the highest praise for Cosmo. And as a lifelong Cosmo girl, I am here for, right? I grew up on that. That was the Bible. Julie Clark, who came on the show with her last book, also chiming in with her amazing praise, saying with a unique and biting voice, Rachel Koller Croft explodes onto the thriller scene, highly entertaining. Bee is the ultimate man eater. Okay, so first of all, let's pause here and talk about this unique and biting voice of yours. Rachel, were you surprised by that praise? Is that hashtag goals for you? Tell us about your unique and biting voice.
I mean, I definitely wanted that to come across in the character of Bee. So all of the early praise has been really exciting, because I feel like people picked up on what I was throwing down, because I just wanted to come in hot with a point of view and a character that isn't a mess, even though she gets into messy situations. The things that I admire in Bee, even though she's a controversial character, I like how ambitious she is. I like how together she is. And I like how she takes big swings and goes for it. And with all of that, I think just getting into her interiority and her inner monologue was a blast for me to write, because she just says what she probably shouldn't, but it's fun to write in her voice. I enjoy it a lot.
Yes. Oh, I love that. And I love that because I think for so long we have seen female characters that are a bit of a mess, and many of which are beloved to us. Bridget Jones leaps to mind. I love some Bridget Jones. But what a relief and what a delight to see a woman in the driver's seat, who is in fact not a mess, who is focused, ambitious, here to get it. I think that is such a a great change and a sign of the changing times. So I'm here for it. I love that. Julie, welcome to the conversation. Julie would like to know, how did you come up with the title? Yeah, let's talk about that title.
It was a team effort. So when I went out with the book, we initially called it Foxes, because there's so many women in the book, and they're all very clever and cunning and sly. And I just personally really like foxes too. So I was like, oh, it'd be so cool if that was like in the title of my debut novel. And then when we ended up at Berkeley with my amazing editor, she's like, what do you think of the title Stone Cold Fox? And I was thrilled by it, but also kind of like mad at myself because I feel like it was staring me right in the face and I just couldn't get there. So it was a team effort. I'm so thrilled with the title because it's just super snappy and just encapsulates everything I wanted to do with the book.
So your editor read it and was like, I think it is not the foxes. I think it's Stone Cold Fox.
But you Stone Cold Fox. And I said, I love it.
Oh, wow. I love that. So did that make you feel seen? Did it make you feel like she gets me? She gets the story?
Totally, which I had already been feeling from her. I was very lucky. The book went to auction and I spoke with several editors, and Jen and I just really, really clicked. And just hearing that after the fact, after the deal had closed, it was another affirmation that I had gone in the right direction, because she gets the book, she gets B, and she gets me.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I also love foxes. One time I was at a yoga retreat in Western Massachusetts hiking, and the snow started falling. And there in the middle of this white winter wonderland was this beautiful bright red fox. And it was one of the most magical experiences of my life to see the majesty of this bright, beautiful red fox against this stark white snow. So I love foxes too.
I'm a big animal person, so
Me too. I have my little blonde fox, my little 16-pound rescue mutt from Texas, sitting right next to me. She's at REM 5. Otherwise I would bring her up, and put her on camera. Oh my gosh. Rachel, I want to get back to some of this other amazing praise. So Samantha Downing, who's also been on the show, raving that this is a provocative, riveting debut novel, saying it is intense and fast paced. I'm going to pull this up so we can all look at it together. The book is like driving down a relentless, unforgiving path. The only time you'll stop reading is to catch your breath. Rave review from Queen Downing there. So let's pause and take a closer look at this. Do you think the book is provocative? Was that one of your goals? Did you think of that? Did you aim for that? Or were you like, oh, this is surprising, but also feels right?
I knew B would be provocative just by virtue of her voice and how cutthroat she is. And by using her voice as sort of the guide when I was figuring out the plot, I just knew I wanted everything to feel true to her character through the entire thing. So a way to do that too, or something I think a lot about, is how can I make this character's life worse in this moment? I hate to do it sometimes because I love my characters so much, but that's how you propel things forward. That's how I think you make a story more provocative. It's like, how can I give this person more problems to deal with and see how she, rises to the occasion or not. B tends to rise to the occasion. I think she's a very capable woman.
I like that. And it's actually hard to do because you start to care about these people. And I struggle to do that. I'm like, but I don't want it to be too hard for them. And so it's actually very hard to do. Let's talk about the second part of Samantha Downing's blurb here. Intense and fast paced. The book is like driving down a relentless, unforgiving path. I had this vision of you just like in a convertible blasting down the 404, at 100 miles an hour with your blonde hair whipping in the wind. Or maybe you're in the passenger seat and B's driving. I don't know.
I do drive a convertible. That's funny.
As a screenwriter turned thriller author, what do you think? Because I feel like everything I know about screenplays, which is not much, is that it has to be faster because you have less pages. It's a page per minute, and a 90-minute movie means a 90-page screenplay. Whereas Stone Cold Fox came in at 353. So you are used to being efficient with words. What do you think, from your experience as a screenwriter and now as a thriller author, what is the secret to writing something that is intense and fast pace, like driving down a relentless, unforgiving path.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I'm writing a script or a book, I always want to end each scene or chapter in a book on a cliffhanger because you want someone to
Ooh.
keep turning the page. I mean, I want people to stay up way past their bedtime reading this, for example. And I feel the same when I'm writing a script because a script is just sort of a different animal. You hope it becomes a movie one day, and that's just kind of the first part. Um,
Mm.
so when I think about script writing, I want someone that's reading it to be able, even the people that watch the movie are probably never going to read the script. The people that are reading the script, I want them to be able to visualize the movie. So it's kind of the same thing. After each scene, I want to make sure the person wants to keep going and sees what happens next. And the way I think about those cliffhangers is kind of what we were just talking about. Like, how can I make more problems and more mess for these people? Because it just tends to make for a better story, quicker pacing, and more entertaining for the reader or watcher to kind of keep them on their toes.
I love that. Well, I can say I thoroughly enjoyed the book and I was thoroughly entertained. And I did have that cliffhanger feeling. And you did keep me up past my bedtime. So I'm sleep deprived, but fine with that. So let me ask you this. First of all, how long did it take you to write this? Start to finish, soup to nuts, A to Z?
Well, I did the first draft in a very casual year because I was writing it. It wasn't sold yet. I was kind of doing it in my free time when I wasn't doing the work I do for TV and film. It's kind of in my free time. So it was sort of a lackadaisical approach and pretty concise because I think being a screenwriter first, it's ingrained in me to kind of write kind of fast and just to the point. So when I went back in to do another draft, that's when I got to add all the stuff that I don't typically get to add in a screenplay. Like, what's everyone wearing? What are they listening to? What's going on in their heads? Because you can't really show that sometimes on the screen. So after I did the first draft, I shared that with my then management who do my TV and film career, and they shared it with my now agent, and she loved it, but she had some really great and intense notes and feedback. The number one headline being, "Did you realize that you wrote a novel about a complex mother-daughter relationship?" I was like, oh, I guess I did, because the character of Mother was not as much in the forefront in the initial phases of this story as she is now. So when I went back in and kind of dug more into Bee's past and why she is the way she is, it only made the book stronger. It made Bee stronger. So it was really, very fortuitous that I found my agent, because I feel like she really saw the potential and pushed me to be a better novelist, and knew I had it in me.
So the mother-daughter feedback was unexpected but welcome.
Yes, and it was very much there in the text. I just didn't have it at the forefront. So then I went in and did another draft in tandem with my agent, kind of working with her in notes and sending her drafts and sending her drafts. And then that was probably about another year. And then we went out with it, and there was a uproarious response, which was really exciting, and went to auction. That part, I was surprised by how fast that happens, because coming from the screenwriting world where you submit and you wait and see what happens, and sometimes things happen fast, but often it's very slow. What I really loved about this was we went out with the book. Everyone read it. People that were interested called. I had a phone call. I mean, it was a process of like 2 weeks, and I had a closed book deal, which was incredible. So I really enjoyed that process.
Oh, that's so awesome. That's so awesome. So start to finish, how was it? How long was it all together?
I think about 2.5 years.
Yeah, great. Oh my gosh,
Maybe close to 3, because then I did another draft with my editor too, once we got moving there too.
yay. Well, it's so funny because when one of the publicists at Berkeley told me about this book literally last summer when I was on vacation last June, and he said, he was like, Sarah, I think you're going to really love this book. And I've hosted a ton of authors for him, so I trust him. And I was like, send it to me right away. And I immediately replied and was like, oh my gosh, this reminds me of Sigourney Weaver and Heartbreakers, which is a mother-daughter. And he was like, that's one of our comps. And I was like, I get this book. We're vibing. And it was so cool to hone in on that. Sharon, welcome to Conversation. That sounds exciting. Congratulations. Yay. Thank you, Sharon, for joining the conversation. So Rachel, let's get, I just want to get to a couple of other amazing bits of praise, because I just really loved seeing how this resonated. Eliza Jane Brazier your fellow LAite, Californian, who was on the show when her book came out, Good Rich People. She raves that this is an inventive, mischievous look at ambition, womanhood, and the art of the con with an ending that will blow your socks off. So I want to talk about that ending. So are you a plotter? Are you a pantser? Did you always know how it will end? Was there feedback from your agent or your editor? Did it evolve? Give us the story of the ending without revealing anything because people don't like that.
Right. No, I don't want to reveal the ending. I mean, I kind of always knew roughly where we were going to end up with B, but a big part of my process is being surprised as I write. So, and that's sort of the same for screenwriting as well. I'm very much an outliner in that I know the beats of where I would like to go before I start writing, because I do like to have a map as I get started, but I always allow for detours. And if a detour is particularly interesting, I will scrap the rest of the outline because I'll want to see where that goes. But with B, I kind of knew where she was going to end up more or less. And my editor and agent both helped me figure that out too, because there were a couple different ways to go with her. I don't want to say too much without spoiling anything. But I think where we ended up is the truest ending for her character. I'll say that.
So, as a plotter, so first of all, I noticed use the term beats, which a lot of screenwriters do. So for those of us over here in the book world, can you tell us can you explain what beats are?
Sure, just potential, like it's not, I don't like to call it a formula because I think that is sort of like not giving credit to a writer, but there are things you want your reader or watcher to feel as they're going through a story. So there has to be, and this also goes back to the things about like making problems for your characters and just making sure things are trudging along. I mean, because I personally love B. I could write a one-woman show for her that nothing happens, and I'm sure it would be very entertaining in a lot of ways, but it's not moving the story forward. So when I mean beats, it's all about what's happening next, like what has changed and what is the next thing that's happening. So the story doesn't stay stagnant. You always want it to be active and in motion, leading up to a big climax. And then, how are we going to wrap it all up or not? Because I don't mind an ambiguous ending personally. I think that makes for good fodder for book clubs and just chatting with your friends, or if you go to a movie with somebody and go to get dinner after, it's like it gives you something to chew on, something to talk about.
Exactly. And or you see that in a lot of true crime podcasts, and you can chat about it in the comments, or like you said, over dinner or drinks or brunch and texts. And my friends and I will be like, no, it was this. No, it was that. I love that. So I let people submit questions in advance when they can't make it live. We got a lot of viewers who will watch afterwards. So let's get to some of the questions that were submitted in advance. So first up I'm just going to make sure I get them exactly right. Juju Beans Reads, who's a reviewer on Instagram, a Bookstagrammer, would like to know, how do you get inspiration for writing a thriller? So this is your first thriller. Tell us about that process.
I feel like I get inspiration from all sorts of things. As a screenwriter too, I have this long Google Doc of things that pop in my head, and I'll just throw things in there. And I may or may not use that one day, but it's something I look at when I'm looking for my next project. The inspiration for Stone Cold Fox kind of started with the voice of B in my head, and I just started riffing with her a little bit. And I'll cop to it. And I want to say it's like her sense of humor and some of her snark, but there's a lot of myself and my girlfriends in the voice of B. And so just kind of running with that was a fun way to make her feel like a real person and not just this one-dimensional villain. As far as where I placed her in the world, loosely based on an ex-boyfriend and his horrible mother. But then what's funny is I ended up really caring for Colin and his mother in some ways, and they became totally different people. But that's what inspiration is. Like, I'm not super interested in writing auto fiction or making something feel like, I don't really write from my own life because I want to make everything more thrilling and, things of that nature. So everything starts from a seed or someone I met or something I saw on the news or something somebody said to me, and I'll put it in the Google Doc, and I may or may not use it one day. My movie was an inside joke with my girlfriend and I. We used to take these trips to Nashville, and we thought we'd be the cutest little country duo there ever was. And I always wanted to write a horror movie, so I was like, well, what if I put those girls into a scary situation? And that's where that stemmed from. So I feel like I write about worlds and things I'm interested in. So like country music, for example, for Torn Hearts, the 1%, fancy wealthy world for Stone Cold Fox, and then really try to hone in on the characters and making them people that readers or watchers want to hang out with and spend time with, whether they like them or not. I want to make sure everyone I write is entertaining and feels real and not just like a mirage of a person. I want to make sure they got personality.
I love that, and I loved what you said about being interested in country music, but also in the 1%, because being interested in that 1% is what made Elijah Jane Brazier such a perfect person to review this book, because of course Good Rich People is also all about that and exploring some of the neighboring sort of themes. So that was really cool to see. Okay, Leica would like to know, how has publishing your first book changed your process of writing screenplays or future books, if it has at all? Great question, Leica.
That is a good question. I think it has changed my process a little bit. With books, my outlines are more thorough than my outlines for screenwriting. And I still don't even think they're super robust. The amount of words you write in a book, and I don't want to say one is easier than the other, because that's not really true. They're different mediums, but the volume is intense with a book, comparatively speaking. I mean, a screenplay is probably, like we said, anywhere from 90 to 120 pages. And if you've ever looked at one, there's tons of white space. So all told, you're probably talking 25,000 words, and that's including character names, things like that. Like it's not that many words.
I didn't realize it was that few. I didn't.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness, wow.
I mean, maybe it goes up a little if you have like a 2-hour movie, things like that, but it's just, there's not as much real estate on the page. And then my book, for example, I think ended up shaking out around 105,000 words, something like that. So my outlines do have to be more robust. I need more scenes, more characters, and things of that nature. But some things that are the same are that part of the process where I'm writing and things just happen as I go and characters appear. There's a character in Stone Cold Fox, Ren Daly, who just appeared one day as I was writing, and I liked her so much that I was like, you can stay. And then I ended up working her into the plot in, I think, a really fun way. So yeah, I would say my outlines have become slightly more robust as a result, but I feel like novel writing and screenwriting for me have served each other. Like I think I'm a better novelist because I was a screenwriter first. And I think being a novelist now is going to improve my screenwriting too. I think they work really well together in how I think about projects.
I love that. Diane, joining us from YouTube, would like to know if you have any writing rituals, and if so, what are they?
What do I do ritualistically? I mean, I write most days. I don't want to lie to you and say I write every day, because it's not true. I mean, I think living your life is writing as well. Like I'll take little notes, or something I found during the pandemic, actually, that is a big part of my process that I didn't realize until I started driving around again, is I think of a lot when I'm driving and listening to music. And when I wasn't going anywhere, I noticed, oh, wow, that was a big difference. So that's definitely something. And when I want to like noodle on something or think about it, I go in the car, I go for a walk with my dog and listen to music instead of a podcast, because music gets something firing in me. Whereas if I'm listening to a podcast, I'm probably not thinking about my own ideas. As far as the time of day I write, I'm kind of a late morning into afternoon writer. I like a leisurely morning. So like, I mean, I work out, I walk my dog and my coffee, talk to my husband in the morning, and then I'll probably sit down and start writing around 11:30. And I can be pretty productive till about 4 or 5 o'clock when I'm on a deadline and really focused on a project. I mostly write at home. Sometimes I'll go to a coffee shop, or I belong to one of those social clubs. Sometimes I'll go there, but I like being home with my dog in my office, and I live by the beach, so I get to see the water. And it's just, this is kind of where I tend to do my best work.
I love that. I love that. And it's interesting that you noticed that many of your good ideas came to you while driving.
Mhm.
One of my neighbors in the apartment building next door teaches creativity at Harvard Business School, and she actually told me that most people's good ideas come when they are driving their car, walking their
Mhm.
dog, or taking showers, because
Yeah,
those things engage your lower brain, and which frees your, I think, I forget what the actual term is, higher brain, for lack of the technical term, to come up with creative ideas, which is why Einstein came up with all of his best ideas while he was working as a patent clerk, filing patents every day, because the boredom and the repetition of filing those patents, in the card file, and kept
yeah.
his lower brain busy. And it's so interesting that you have noticed that about yourself.
Yeah, driving but then I have to pull over and write it down or I'll forget it.
Yes. So how long is that Google Doc? Is it like hundreds of pages long? I mean,
Not hundreds, but it's long only because I never delete anything off of it because you just never know. Like, I mean, Torn Hearts, for example, which was initially called Tattered Hearts. I mean, that was on my Google Doc for 4 or 5 years before I actually sat down and wrote the movie. So even if I never use anything, I still look at stuff sometimes from even a few years ago because why not? And when I say Google Doc, it's nothing is even that robust. It's like a sentence or a couple of words or person. And it would make sense to nobody but me.
I love that. So I keep notebooks of random good ideas, one line at a time. But I'm thinking, oh my God, I should be, but I never have the right notebook with me. So a Google Doc is so much smarter, because then A, you won't lose it, and B, it's all in one place. So do you put the new ideas at the top, or you have to scroll through 5 years of ideas to get to the new one?
I tend to scroll. I think it's good to revisit. Yeah,
Yes, to see
but
all
I've
your
never
ideas.
now that you've asked me. No, I always scroll through because then I don't know, just check in with everyone, see how they're all doing. If anything's new
Oh, I
strike.
love it. Like, hey, friends. Okay, you're still, marinating. You're still
Right.
ripening. I'll come back to you. Don't worry. It's like
Yeah.
tending to a plant, or,
Mhm.
something you're growing. I love that. You guys, the book is not even out yet. The book drops tomorrow. This is seriously one of the most anticipated books of the year. And one of my favorite books of grammar is Dennis from Scared Straight Reads has picked it as his February book club pick. Dennis is fabulous. He's so fun and funny. And so if you want to talk to Rachel, if you want to join the book club and be able to talk to Rachel about it, it is Dennis at Scared Straight Reads. He's so great. Definitely check that out. But the book drops tomorrow. So the good folks at Murder by the Book, our favorite woman-owned bookstore, independent bookstore, is going to ship them out to you tomorrow. So pre-order now. I'm going to pop the link up for you. So no matter where you're watching from, Facebook or YouTube, any of the 6 destinations we are streaming to, here is that link. Click, 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 pre-order, pre-order, pre-order. The good folks at Murder by the Book will send it out to you tomorrow. And then you too can immerse yourself in the delicious world of Stone Cold Fox. We can talk about B. And as always, all the good tea is spilled, where we continue the conversation over in the Mystery and Thriller Mavens Facebook group, free and open to all. So when you're reading it, trust me, you're going to want to talk about this. You're going to need to talk about this. So here's the link to continue the conversation. I will pop that up as well, so you can order and then read it, and then we can process it together. Rachel, what's one thing you've never told anyone else about this book? Do you have any secrets you can share with us?
Do I have a secret about this book? I feel like I did spill kind of a big one about
Ooh,
Colin and his mother.
yes.
Um, as far as
That was
another
a good one.
secret, I feel like it might spoil something, but
Okay.
the first draft of this book was conceived as something else a little bit entirely, where it had a different title and it was still B and it was her voice and a lot of the same plot points, but she was basically speaking directly to the reader and as if
Oh.
it was like left behind on a plane. And like, yeah, it ended with her like watching it. It was a little like kind of an interactive thing, but then I really didn't need that. And it was a little tropey and not really serving the story, but that it helped me write like the first draft and kind of like conceive of this character. And she didn't have as many levels at that time when I was writing her at first. I feel like B has really grown in like later iterations of the story. But in the first one, she was kind of just like a straight psycho.
Oh my
So
gosh, that's so funny.
yeah.
I love knowing that, and I loved that tasty bit about Colin
It
and her.
feels like I wrote 2 books because I saved almost nothing from the first draft. Little bits and pieces and the spirit of being who she is, but it was a pretty robust rewrite. Like, I'm sure I don't think I could read that first draft again. It's probably terrible.
Do you find rewriting painful? I do.
I don't. I find the first draft to be the most painful personally.
Oh, interesting.
Um,
I feel like,
I
yeah.
Yeah, I really like revision because I feel like once the first draft is out, it's like, okay, that's done. And now we can go in and really make it sparkly and shine and sculpt and figure out who's going where, who's talking to who. I much prefer working from something that already exists. There's something very fun and freeing about the first draft for me, too. It's not like all painful, but there's just something about those moments where you're going in for the day and you can outline all you want, but something's like not coming. You just have to like write a bunch of crap just to get to the next scene. I'm just kind of a perfectionist in that way. And so the first draft for me is a little challenging because I do allow myself to suck, but I don't enjoy sucking. So that part isn't the most fun. But when I get to revise, that's where I think I can really shine and make the initial seed of the story into a book or a script.
I love that because it's so funny because one of my dearest friends is also a writer and she is in your camp. She's like, I hate writing a first draft. You can't edit a blank page. It's so painful for me to write it. And then I love to edit. And I'm always like, not me. I love to go into a blank page. I see total potential. And then I love to make a big mess. And then I just want to be like, someone else deal with this. And it's like, I want to cook, but I don't want to do the dishes. And and I feel like there's two different sort of camps. So I love, but this is giving me hope that I can become a person who loves to edit. Also, I'm gonna like put this on a post-it note over my desk. You just have to write a bunch of crap to get to the next scene. I will be putting that on a post-it note. Rachel, this book has, I mean, the praise for this has just been absolutely incredible. Publishers Weekly saying this is a clever tale of jealousy, revenge, deception, and betrayal. Marks Croft as a writer to watch. Congratulations. You earned a starred review from Kirkus, which ain't easy. I mean, New York Times deemed them reliably curmudgeonly, I think. I want to quote it. And so to earn a starred review, and they said it is, quote, an absorbing story that plays with ideas of good and evil, keeping readers guessing who is the hero and who is the villain. Congratulations on that. Library Journal comparing you to the incredible New York Times bestselling author of 20 novels, Lisa Unger, saying this is likening it to Confessions on the 745, which Lisa was on the show to present to us. She's been on 4 or 5 times now. And Gillian Flynn's Gone Girl. I mean, this is just so incredible. It's so fabulous to see you just hitting it out of the park. Laura Hankins said, move over Anna Delvey. There's a new con artist in town. This wild, twisted ride made me gasp, laugh, and most shockingly of all, feel for the girl hiding beneath the French tipped facade. Did you watch the Anna Delvey documentary?
The Netflix
Sorry,
show,
not
I
documentary,
watched
the Netflix
some
show.
of it. I was riveted by the story, like when I think it was on The Cut, like that whole thing came out. I just thought it was so fascinating. But what's funny to me about, like, I've been getting a lot of questions about, did you think a lot about con artists? And the answer is yes, but the primary thing for B that I thought about is just the type of woman that aspires to marry up and how fascinating that is, and just kind of the push and pull of extreme wealth, and how she's sort of inspired by it, but also repulsed by it. I just thought I wanted to make B not your average gold digger. I thought a lot about how I could subvert her. And so she's not really a bimbo, even though she's super hot. She's really smart. She has a career. She's really funny. Like, and her motivations aren't actually that much about the stuff and the finer things. I mean, she likes them, but who doesn't? However, her motivation has a lot to do with the money symbolizing safety and security, which she did not have in her youth growing up with her mother. And that at the end of the day is her motivation for just about everything she does in this book.
Exactly. I think I was about to the same thing. This is the search of a woman. This is the story of a woman's search for safety, and that financial security equals that for her, and frankly for everyone.
Sure.
To be financially secure is to be safe, and everyone wants to be safe. Every living creature seeks safety and survival. And what's always interesting to me is when we read stories of various characters, but I know it particularly happens when it's a female character, and some people will be quick to say, "I would never do that." You'll hear a lot of that. "I would never do that," and I always say to people, "Let's zoom out a little and look at the broader context of where this person came from, what they were wrestling with, where they are living, who they're surrounded by. Let's look at their parenting. Let's look at their childhood." And when you zoom out and you look at the broader context, I always caution people from being quick to say they would never do anything, because I think when you're in a variety of tough, challenging situations, there's nothing that actually any of us wouldn't do to survive.
Right. Right. And I think there's a lot of things, if not having to think about your bills frees up a lot of mental space. So I feel like for B, I don't know, it just totally made sense for her character. And I found that to be a very interesting way into a main character, a narrator you can hang out with the whole time, because her motive is simple, but also she is complex. And that I think just made her really interesting to stay with for the whole story. Certainly for me, writing her. I feel like I could write 100 books as B. I love her.
Oh my God, I would be here for it, Rachel. Or maybe you could do like, a Netflix series. I would be here for it. I would be with my little popcorn
Yeah,
ready
she's
to
a
tune
class.
in every Thursday night. That's some good TV right there. Y'all, we are out of time. You have to pre-order this book. Trust me, it will reel you in and you will not be able to put it down. So here is that link one more time. No matter where you're watching from, Facebook or YouTube, order this book, Mystery and Thriller Fam. You're going to thank me later. And then we will continue the conversation over in the Mavens Facebook group. Rachel Koller, thank you so much for coming on to give us the inside scoop on Stone Cold Fox the night before it comes out. What a pleasure to host you, to learn about your process, to learn the secret about Colin and his mother, to learn a little more about B. And please do write another thriller and come back and talk to us when you do.
I most certainly will. Thanks for having me, Sarah. I really appreciate it.
Of course. It's been a pleasure. Y'all, that is a wrap for Mystery Monday. I will see you next week, and be sure to survive until then. Have a great night.